I'm going to say that I think the major oil companies of the world, so that's Exxon, down to DNI, which is what I cover, have contributed more towards decarbonisation, lower carbon output than any renewable or whole of the renewable industry today. And why is that? Well, it's because of natural gas.
Artist Annie Cattrell has created these breathtaking pieces. She's thought to capture breath inside a human lung, suggesting the fragility and purity of the human respiratory system, and by association, the ecosystem of our world.
American silver dollars. They're solid silver. I'm going to use 4.
We talk about energy storage today. One of the biggest problems the electricity companies have had for many, many generations is the ability to balance the grid. There are very few ways of balancing the grid, but energy storage, such as lithium batteries and other technologies, are going to make a massive change in that space.
So I am not incurring the economic efficiency loss on the compression side. And so I'm benefiting from a highly efficient gas turbine here on the generation side. And that is the breakthrough in terms of looking at the economic proposition of this plant. And what you have to remember is there's an optimization that has to be done around size of the compressor, size of the storage, and size of the generator.
So I'm called Dryson. I'm from Dryson Racing Technologies in the UK, and we pioneer the use of motorsport to accelerate Cleantech innovation. Fundamentally based on what So I'm called Dryson. I'm from Dryson Racing Technologies in the UK, and we pioneer the use of motorsport to accelerate Cleantech innovation. So things like use of second generation bioethanol. This is a car that was designed from scratch to race on bioethanol. And in doing so, what we've shown is that the car can be every bit as competitive to a conventional racing car, but have approximately 60% less environmental damage to the planet in terms of the carbon impact from using a renewable fuel. Second generation bioethanol is made from a cellulosic process, so it uses waste biomass, wood chips for example, to make the fuel, and provides actually some racing advantages. You get improvement in the power output of the engine, which gives you a racing advantage, and of course from a point of view of making a case for going green, there's nothing better than actually winning races to convince people that the future is a green future, as future is a clean future. We're now pioneering the use of this approach to electric racing. So we're developing a 200-mile-an-hour electric racing car for the new FIA Formula E Championship, which is starting in 2013. It's going to be a really exciting opportunity to showcase new electric vehicle technology in radically new racing cars, racing on street circuits such as here in Monaco. I'm talking to you in front of the Hotel de Paris in Casino Square in Monaco, one of the most famous racing tracks for Formula 1, and an ideal venue for electric street racing.
Coche eléctrico. Adolfo y Luisa.
de España y el de Argentina, y hemos venido a dar una vuelta por el casino y vemos unos coches muy bonitos, y es muy bonito este coche y el color es muy bonito. El coches eléctricos.
It should be possible, say, to get 10,000 tickets of 1,000 euros or dollars each to fund the startup.
The IPO market, unless you're Facebook, is pretty much closed. And as I raise capital now, I observe amongst the venture capital communities like me, companies like me, a tendency to hoard capital for existing portfolio companies that have a greater need for capital because the market for exits isn't there.
Western European and US-centric discussion up to this point. The notion of not just west to east, but east to west. With the migration of technology, the engineering degrees, the patents that are now being issued outside these areas. What does the PC community start to think about, not just in terms of extracting an opportunistic relationship, but really building a fundamental base now for ongoing and sustainable developments, which could in fact impact, the West instead of just looking at it from the other direction.
President of Al-Kuwari. I see, is the VC model broken? Yes, of course, it's broken in Europe and it's broken in America. It's not a word. Why is it broken? You just said we are knowledge-based industry, and look at the industries that run. They are not knowledge-based, they are manufacturing-based. Look at China, look at Germany. And the greatest problem in the US since many years and in Europe is that the banks not want to finance the founder in manufacturing. If no founder, no success. Look at the Chinese companies, they don't sell. They keep it alive and the government supports them with money. Our money has gone to bail out the banks. Bail out General Motors with 50 billion. Well, nice thing. Now I just saw the new Camaro outside. 6, 8 cylinders, same thing like 10 years before. Did we invest the money wisely?
The U.S. government is their customer if it pays them on a cost-plus basis. And that creates a very non-entrepreneurial culture. And yet, for several of the businesses I'm involved in, they are natural strategic partners. And their engineers may love the technology. This is the case of actually the company I'm going to present. But management said,
started in 2000. We raised 3 funds, almost $1 billion. To Ben's point, every time we see our investors, which is often, they just want to know what the returns are. And most of those investors are endowments and family offices. I would say we have, I believe, 1 pension fund in the U.S. We were, as a group, 7 partners and 4 other investing professionals. Our model is basically individuals who have come from the operating side of the world, not from the finance world, and hoping that our experience in the energy sector, broadly defined, oil and gas, renewable energy, electric power, etc., transportation sector, that our experiences will allow us to collectively make the right decisions to return above average returns to investors. In the U.S., we never imagined there would be a thing called Cleantech. We simply thought we were in an investing sector, a niche, an investing niche that would be attractive to our limited partners. And by 2004, 2005, as most of you know, Cleantech became this phenomenon almost in the venture world. And we were hearing in that period of time, we were seeing a lot of traditional venture capital funds come into that business, into that niche, and we were hearing that traditional tech and life science investment or investing areas were
You know, I do think there's plenty of money out there to answer your point. That's clear. It's just moving in a different way. And strategics are one way. And the thing about the strategics is, although we have a similar desire to obviously get a return on the investment in a purely financial way, we're set up that you have to make money on our we have to make money on our investment portfolio as well. The value can be perceived very differently, and that may make a difference to those items that we would be prepared to invest in that maybe others might not, because it might, for example, be an R&D hedge. I mean, it might be that by investing $20 million in a company over here, we don't have to invest $50 million in our own development.
My name is Michael Ottaviano. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Carnegie Wave Energy. We're a wave energy technology developer, which is a technology focusing on the swell energy in the ocean, not the tidal energy, but the wave energy, and converting that into clean power and also clean water. The way that we approach this is quite different to what's happened in the wave space historically, which has been about floating power stations. And typically what's happened consistently there is large waves have come through and sunk those floating power stations, and there's been many disappointing failures in the sector. Where Carnegie has really forged its own path is on developing the most robust and cheapest wave technology. And what we do really is we take the power generation piece and take it out of the ocean and put it back on shore, and we keep everything that's in the ocean very simple. We're really a wave-driven pumping technology that pumps high-pressure water ashore to spin a traditional hydroelectric turbine and put the power into the grid that way. That's a little unusual for a technology commercialisation company, is that we're also listed for the pseudo-3 generation. So you get a feel for the fabrication of the buoy, for example. It's pretty standard fabrication techniques. It's just a steel plate buoy. This is the hydraulic cylinder being manufactured in France. We did a lot of testing of individual components before we put the system together as well. This is the actual buoy being tested in ocean ahead of deployment. Our test site is very close to a lot of the oil and gas servicing facilities in Western Australia as well, so we have to leverage a lot of offshore capability that exists locally in Perth. This is our test the full range of movement. These guys in the orange uniforms are the actual divers who then install them over subsequent days doing dry runs offshore as well. And an installation for a one-off unit is quite a procedure. This is the jack-up rig to put the pile foundation in for the first unit. Traditional drill pile foundation, nothing particularly novel about it, just very expensive to do one. This is then the pump being taken out, the barge, the buoy being taken out, and separately that was manufactured locally as well. You can see the portholes around that buoy, which allows the water to go inside the buoy. And then this is the actual deployment on site. You can see that movement again at the base of the pump. We like that pump to move. It gives us some play in the wave zone. This strap on top is just some positive buoyancy to keep the pump upright. Excuse me. Buoy being taken out. It actually forms a very stable work platform through installation as well, as you can see. We flood the buoy with some very buoyancy, it gets taken down. There's a final connection that's made here by a diver to actually then connect the buoys in, pump back out and starts operating. First off unit, quite a laborious installation process, about 7 days. We've now refined that to a single day installation process in the European or US context, but in Australia not that unusual. The point here is that we effectively are utilising proven subsea components that already exist in the oil and gas industry typically. So our pump, which is really the core of the hydraulic power takeoff system, is a tension-led mooring hydraulic ram. It's already adopted throughout the world and is there to try and keep a platform in the same relative position to the seafloor when you're exporting. About to be deployed imminently on Monte-Carlo, New York. We are looking for to secure the final balance of funding for the 50% of government funding for that 1.5 megawatt project in Western Australia. We'll then go out and raise the balance.
And we put an S on the end there because one of the markets that's opening up that is absolutely huge that we can also address is South Africa. So we touch on Russia and China and South Africa, but this is really for the benefit of emerging companies, startup companies, technology
Standen. I recall with a sense of pride about financing.
From a legal point of view, recently Brazil has improved a lot in terms of designing and improving a reasonably good property rights law. So it was a problem in the past, really serious. Now it's not anymore a big problem. Now, capital became the limelight the biggest problem because we don't have a very developed VC sector in the country. Private equity nascent, still first stages. Debt cost is prohibitive. You just don't have access to that. The private banks charge you between 18 to 25% per year. That's a kind of debt nation company doesn't have well, a chance to get handled. And the producers of technologies today, they do not come from companies themselves unless they're big multinationals. There's not a culture of R&D in the country. So the big technology development comes from universities, comes from academia, or from government companies, like Andrade, for example. Andrade is one of Brazil's products. It produces the most advanced agrochemical and agritech, agribusiness technologies. Everywhere you imagine, they developed all the technology to get the Cerrado, which is roughly 40%, 45% of the highly productive agricultural area. It was a complete write-off before. Now it's the best. So that was the difference from 0 to 100%. And they developed pretty much everything you can see today of the ethanol technology, at least the beginning of it. They developed eucalyptus forestry and soybean and all the large-scale cultures, agricultural productivity cultures they have in Brazil.
Focusing on Northeast Asia, out of China, and give just very briefly some perspectives on that. I think at first, we took the approach that we'd seek exposure to that part of the world through the European companies, but that has since migrated and for very, very sound reasons.
For some 25 years, the last 12 years or so, has been spent as an entrepreneur inside BP, building low-carbon businesses originally in our gas, power and renewable business, and more latterly in our alternative energy business. So gas is a great transition fuel that allow us to buy time in order to develop the longer-term technologies. About 60 years worth of gas has durably changed the American market. Certainly, Henry Hub today, roughly $2. Henry Hub is the gas indicator in the US, for those who don't know, $2.25 per million BTU.
We at ADB now are spending a lot of effort focusing on energy efficiency and a whole range of initiatives that 4 years a better place, which many of you have heard of, and talking about shale gas. There was a very interesting report that the city just put out last week. The title just made me laugh. It was North America, the New Middle East. And if you haven't read it, you should. It's at least an executive summary. It's quite interesting. But it speaks very much to what the chairman and Guy were speaking about in terms of the disruptive potential that those finds and that resource has in North America, and then what it could mean also for the rest of the world.
I've spent about half my career in Guy's part of the business. I worked for Shale and H.S.H for around 60 years as an engineer, economist, and then I took the dark side. I went to work in equity research broking for
Gaelectric, Alstom, and Rodia Solvay, the French multinationals, most of them.
Tweet your history. How to survive.
Cleantech society versus big oil, shale gas profits.
5 years tax-free Cleantech IT manufacturing finance. Solar Life Capital living from the sun. Solar Life Capital living from the sun. Cleantech is about recreating society.
Hi, my name is Al-Kuwari. I'm CEO of GreenGulf. We're based in Qatar, and we focus on development of solar energy and waste management for the Middle East. We're looking here in CleanEquity Monaco to meet entrepreneurs and investors that are looking to invest in those two areas, solar and waste management in the Middle East, to become our partners. And we're really excited to be here for the first time, and we hope to participate in years coming. Thank you very much.
Greg Cross from Power by Proxy. I live in Auckland, New Zealand. We're here in Monaco talking to the CleanEquity community about our product and our technology. Wireless power has been around for a very long time. The original concepts were developed by Nikola Tesla back in the 1860s, in the great and romantic age of inventors. But the challenge has always been, like it is with most new technologies, how do you make money out of it? How do you develop those ideas and that technology into companies that can make money and make returns for their shareholders? And we think we're doing a great job of that by focusing both on the industrial components market, putting for example, our product into wind turbines. So where you need to get power and data across a rotating joint, our wireless power is a great solution for that, because obviously you can't use cables when you've got a platform that's continuously rotating. So that's been a really important market development for us. But as we've moved forward, we've started to look at how we miniaturize our technology and put it into devices like the traditional and just the good old-fashioned AA battery. So we've been able to miniaturize our wireless power receiver, so it now resides in a wireless power, in a normal rechargeable battery. And what that means is, any device that has a battery in it can now be, or when we release this product, can be wirelessly recharged.
I started life in America in 1978. The youngest guy in the room at an American investment bank. And a company called Genentech walked in. And this was every Tuesday we'd have a company come in and tell us what they did. And Genentech told us what they did, and by the end of the meeting, nobody in the room had a clue what they just heard. And when the head of the department asked who's going to captain this deal, of course nobody put their hand up, and I was asked to captain a deal about a company I had absolutely no idea what they did. But within a few months I understood more about the biotech industry than anybody else in the office.
Your point about international distribution, that really is something that is a key mantra for our entire organization. Just to step back a bit, I think a lot of people, when they hear about PRNewswire, they think of a couple of things. First, I've heard it in conversations in the hallway. They think we're journalists, and I'll just clarify that we're not, in essence, members of the media. We don't write the press releases. We don't report. What we do is provide the platform to take your news, information, and content and distribute it across our network, which reaches the media, the investment community, the internet, and to Mungo's point, which is a critical point, in essence reaches the world, because we can take your press releases, distribute it to any corner of the world, and translate that information. And one of the things that we often struggle with is that companies either try to hide their information, they just don't realize that we have this platform, so they sort of, to some extent, dumb it down and just use our very bare bones distribution and just send out a press release because they think that they have to, versus sort of thinking through the strategy and saying, well, we're an early stage company, we're trying to attract not only potential consumers, we're trying to reach investors, and think through the fact that for a very small expense, they can reach the world.
As you can probably tell from my accent, I'm one of the London-based
partners in Covington Merlin. My focus is on corporate transactional matters. Now, clean technology, renewable energy. We have always been focused on looking at innovation that is coming out as early as coming straight out of universities, all the way through to commercialising that onwards to the point where those technologies are then being exploited by the bigger global players.
But maybe just to put in the context, maybe I'll just explain a little bit about what carbon trust does, what is within this technology development deployment, which is my main area of focus. I mean, the carbon trust itself is a mission-driven company. It's based in the UK. It's been in the privileged position over the last 10, 12 years now since it was set up of having a the low carbon sector, and specifically around technology development, deployment and innovation.
Artist Annie Cattrell has created these breathtaking pieces. She's thought to capture breath inside a human lung, suggesting the fragility and purity of the human respiratory system, and by association, the ecosystem of our world.
Vanuit
I would